chant the verses. Karturajñaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam kritimaho dadhau patana karanam phalamashashvatam gati nirodhakam Ishvararpitam nechaya kritam Chittashodhakam mukti sadhakam Ishvararpitam nechaya kritam Chittashodhakam mukti sadhakam Chittashodhakam mukti sadhakam So Upadesha Sara means the very essence of all Upadesh. Upadesh is what the instruction the teacher gives to the student is called Upadesh. And following the Upadesh, the student, the seeker also attains that state of liberation. So there are many Upadesh given in our scriptures which are very vast. So here we have the essence of all the Upadesh. And those can be put into those four main Upadesh of Karma Yoga, of Bhakti, of Ashtanga Yoga, and of Jnana. So Bhagavan in the beginning itself tells us the limitation of karma. Action has got its own limitation, and all of us are actually bound by action. We are forced to act, as though somebody is constantly pushing us to perform action. And what is pushing us to perform action? Our own desires. And they are infinite. They keep coming propelling us into action. And based on the laws of nature, we get the result. But when we get the result, we get attached to the result, and we want to get more result, or we want to run away from those type of result. So it creates more desires in our mind, and again we perform action. So this constantly performing action and increasing our desires and coming under the sway of these actions and results itself is called the samsara, ocean of samsara, or ocean of action it is called. So kriti maha udadav. So action keeps us bound to this samsara. It is like the dynamo. When the wheel is kept rotating, the light also keeps on fluctuating or coming on. So if you continue rotating, the light will continue to be on. Similarly, the action keeps the sense of doership on, and it keeps the samsara on. But then what is the way out? It is like a catch-22 situation. We are caught up by karma and we can't escape from this karma. But there is a way out. And the way out is found in the karma itself. If we perform our actions with a particular attitude, then we will be able to come out of this bondage of action. It is like we fall on the ground, but we take support of the ground itself to stand up, to get up. Similarly, though we are fallen into the ocean of karma, we have to take support of karma itself to come out of this karma. And that is what we call the path of action or karma yoga, in which we have to perform our action according to our swabhav, keeping all the values in mind, or keeping the values while performing those actions. So ahimsa, satyam, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, keeping these values in mind, when we express our swabhav for the welfare of the world as a dedication to Ishvara. Ishvara is that supreme reality, our own higher self, Param Atma. Atma is I, and Param Atma is higher I, supreme self, which is myself. So, that Paramatma, who is the very substratum and the controller of this entire universe, who is the master of the universe, when we follow our swadharma, when we perform action based on our own nature as an offering to that Ishvara and keeping in mind the values of life, then what happens? Chitta Shodhakam, it purifies our mind. And as the mind becomes pure, the mind becomes calm and peaceful. And a calm and peaceful mind helps us to recognize our own self. A calm and peaceful mind acts like a mirror which shows us our own face. A disturbed mind doesn't act like a mirror. It acts more like a window only, which shows us the world outside. But a calm and peaceful mind is like a mirror which shows us our own face. And once we see ourselves as we are, we become free from all bondage. Because we are that infinite, supreme, pure consciousness itself, which is always free. So, Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. So, this is the very essence of Karma Yoga. In Karma Yoga, the more stress is on performing our duties based on our swabhav and dedicating it to Ishvara. When this dedication becomes more and more sublime, and when our actions become more and more sublime, when the actions are more and more of a higher nature, then that Karma Yoga itself gets transformed into Bhakti. Karma Yoga itself is called Bhakti. When the actions are not performed just for the sake of duty, but when we perform this action as a seva, as worship, and we perform a superior type of action, then the Karma Yoga itself is called Bhakti. And this path of Bhakti leads us to that state of enlightenment. So there are three important steps in that path of Bhakti. First is at the level of action, then the level of speech, and at the level of thinking. So that is now explained in the following verses. We shall chant those verses. Kaya Vangmana Karyamuttamam Pujanam Japaschintanam Kramat Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Deva Pujanam Uttamastavadutchamandatah Chittajam Japa Dhyanamuttamam Ajyadharaya Shrotasasamam Sarala Chintanam Viralatah Param भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनीमता भावशून्यसद्भावसुस्थितिः भावनाबलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमम् पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमम् पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् हाँ, कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात्. We perform actions with our body, with our speech at a subtler level, and also with our mind. So at three levels we perform action in this world. Our body actually acts. Sometimes we can just even from the posture of the body one can understand what type of action is happening. There are books written and people are expert in body language. So even in pravachan actually the body language and all, sometimes it is cold and all, that is a different story. But sometimes body language is very defensive and all. कि देखते हैं क्या बताते हैं. Let me see how he converts me. I am not here to convert you. So body language, body has got its own expression, and through our body we perform action. The first actually it begins in our own innermost core of our own mind. In our unconscious mind we have all the desires stored there. That's called chitta. From there the thoughts come, and based on those thoughts we perform action. So conscious actions are called karma. When they are just happening, then they are called kriya like. But conscious action is what is called karma, where there is a sense of doership involved. When we are asleep and we kick our neighbor, that is not called action. But if you are awake and kicking, then it is action. But otherwise it's not an action, it's just a kriya happening, activity happening. It's just like the fan moving. But when we consciously, with a sense of doership, perform an action, then it is called karma. So for a karma, thoughts are required, desires are required, want is required, sense of doership is there. Then the action happens, and the body identification is required, then the action happens. So it is a grosser form of action. But at a subtler level, we also act at the level of our speech, which is more subtle and more powerful. People who have worked at the level of speech, their actions have been more lasting. Like our own Pujya Gurudev, he went all over the world spreading the message of Bhagavad Gita, of Upanishad. We perform action with our mobile phone, that is a different story. But a great master, he performs with his speech also. By his presence, of course he performs, but the speech, the talk the message which the Master conveys, that remains for a long, long time to come. Even many years ago, Jesus Christ gave a talk on the mountain. Even now, people remember. All other tunes will be forgotten, but that speech will be remembered. Yeah? So, and it can really transform person. Even Hitler could create such a mass movement by the power of his speech. Of course, the power of his mind came through the power of, got expressed through speech. So speech creates a very important role, and it is also an organ of action. Speech itself actually comes in the form of our books, our thoughts converted into speech, then are the written books also. So we perform action at the level of speech. And then we also perform action at the level of our mind. Our body may be silent, our speech may be silent, but we might be performing action at the level of our mind. And the action at the level of the mind is more subtle. We might think good of someone, that is also an action. Therefore, this prayer and all is considered as an action. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sitting at one place when we think good of all human beings, that is also performing an action at a subtler level. It has got an effect on the subtler world, the thought world, the world of mind. It has got its own powerful effect. Just like our waves of radio waves and mobile waves and all, we can't see, but they are there all over. Similarly, the thoughts and the emotions and our convictions, our faith is there everywhere. So when I work at the level of my mind, it has got its own effect on the world around. So when a person performs his action as a duty, as a swabhav I express through my body, mind and my speech, it can be at a mediocre level, very low level, mediocre level, and very high level also. So it can be ordinary mediocre level wherein I perform action to the best of my ability with the help of my body, efficient action. With speech also I use good words, not to harm, not to hurt, following the values of ahimsa, satyam, asteya and all. That is also utilizing our speech. Then our mind also should be utilized while doing karma yoga, having good intention while performing that action, and having good intention towards whomsoever we are performing that action outwardly, and ultimately towards God. But when our this kaya vang manaha actions becomes uttamam, best, then the karma yoga gets transformed into bhakti. When it becomes uttamam. When our action at the level of the body is not only just performing my duty, but it becomes puja, then it is called bhakti. When I am just performing my action as a duty करना है, क्या करे, नसीब में आ गया है. So I have to somehow just spend time. If my office hours are 9 to 5, just we should keep waiting. अभी कितना 4:45 बजा है, चलो let us just. As soon as it's 5, just run. If nobody is watching, then run before time. So somehow fulfill our duties with the sense of duty when we do. That is also good. If we are very sincere about it, then it is karma yoga. But when our duty, when our karma becomes worship, when I am serving someone not as a duty but as my love, worship means love. When I take care of my parents not as a duty, I am the son, I have to take care of my parents, what to do. My other brothers are in America. They don't care. I have to take care of them. With all complaining this, that is just somehow fulfilling the duty. But when I am performing that action as worship, as puja, as seva, then that same action becomes bhakti. Just as we do perform puja, or we prepare some, let us say we prepare nice halwa. It is called halwa. If you check the recipe book, it will be written halwa. But that same halwa, if it is offered to the Lord, then it is called prasad. In the recipe book, you won't find prasad. Maybe nowadays, I don't know. But you cannot prepare prasad. You can make naivedya, which is offered to God. God makes it prasad. Recipe book, and you don't make it as prasad. Bhagwan makes it prasad. Similarly, when our actions are performed with the attitude of seva, then it becomes worship. Then it is called bhakti. Otherwise, it is karma yoga. It's good. Many people are karma yogis. But you should transform yourself from karma yogi to a bhakta. It's a higher level of sadhana. To be a karma yogi is very good. It is better than those who don't follow that also. But from karma yoga, we have to rise at the level of bhakti, and that we can do by transforming our ordinary physical action, which we perform as duty, into seva, into puja. Puja means seva. More about this puja, japa and chintan, Bhagwan will explain. So when our action becomes puja, that is called uttam. When our speech, which is, we have to use our speech in karma yoga also, satyam, ahimsa, and asteya, and all this we should follow even at the level of our speech. Then it is karma yoga only. But when we, with our speech, we also chant the name of the Lord. When we utter when through our speech we glorify the Supreme, then that speech also becomes, goes at a higher level. Then at the level of speech also, the actions which we perform is called bhakti only. We glorify the Lord. Like they give example of Tansen. Tansen was singing for Akbar. So it is singing. A very good song. Nice. But his own teacher was singing for the Lord. Then that is bhakti. When we sing and on the stage and then people clap, and then Mirabai's bhajan we sing beautifully and everyone appreciates and wow, wow. That is called singing. That is called karma yoga. You can call it. But when Mirabai sings for Bhagwan, that is bhakti. She is not singing so that you can clap. She is not singing so that she will be appreciated and she will be called in FM or something. She is singing for Bhagwan. कि मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरो ना कोई रे. So that is bhakti. With our speech, we glorify the Lord. In Tulsi Ramayana, Tulsidas ji says the speech resides in our Nabhi, where Brahmaji, it's like Brahmaji's home, there Saraswati, Vani Devi resides. From Bhagwan's Nabhi only then Brahmaji was born. And when a Kavi, when a great poet wants to write something, Tulsidas ji says that this Vani Devi comes running and she comes at the level of his tongue. But when he uses the speech to praise the worldly person or worldly things, then she feels so sad that, oh, I came all the way running thinking that he will glorify the Lord, and this fellow is glorifying the worldly world and the limited thing. So speech, Vani, When it is used to glorify the Lord, then that becomes bhakti. When we are glorifying ourselves, the world around, and all those things, then it's ordinary Vani. But when it is used to glorify the Lord, then it is called bhakti. When we open our mouth, it should be only to praise the Lord. In Ramayana also Tulsidas ji says, in Kali Yuga, praising the Lord is the best sadhana. Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva Gatiranyatha. Even Ved Vyas says, Nahi Kali Karamana Bhagati Vibeku, Rama Nama Avalambaneku. Tulsidas ji says, कि in Kali Yuga there is only one avalamban, Rama Nam, Bhagwan's name, Bhagwan's glory. Why to glorify God? See, when we glorify God, our ego becomes less and finally it dissolves. Ego gets bloated when it is himself glorified. Most of the time, ignorant person wants his or her own ego to be glorified. By hook or by crook, by all sorts of methods, we try to glorify our own ego. In a group photograph where you are also there, first thing is, I want to see how I look there. I want to be noticed. I want to be special. I means that ego. I want to be someone different from everyone else. So when I don't pay attention to that little I, but glorify the Lord, see His glory in the entire world, and speak it out, when I talk about it, then my speech also becomes pure. My body becomes pure by seva. Speech becomes pure when God is glorified. So that is called japa. Singing His glories and chanting His name is called japa, and that japa is uttama karyam. It is uttam karya, best action, which then the action becomes bhakti. And then chintanam, at the level of the mind, we do thinking, we planning. See, in Karma Yoga, we require thinking, planning, and using our intellect, using our mind. We also have to think good of ourselves, of our surrounding, of the whole world. But when we do use our mind to do chintanam, we contemplate on God, on His nature. We contemplate on our own supreme nature. Then that chintanam becomes, the action at the level of the mind becomes best, supreme, superior. When we do ordinary chinta, that is also action at the level of mind only, but that is not supreme. Most of the time people do chinta, worries, or they think of their own work. Keep on, most of the time our mind is occupied with work. ये करना चाहिए, वो करना चाहिए, planning, आगे क्या करे, पीछे क्या करे, इसका क्या करे, all sorts of work. Constantly the mind is busy. Even God is not so busy, who takes care of the whole world. He is not busy. You see his photograph. Which one? Lord Vishnu lying down. You think he is busy? He's आराम से वहाँ पर शेष भगवान पे लेटे हुए है. Lakshmi is also not busy. She is sitting there with him. But the whole world is busy running after Lakshmi and managing the world. And manager is like, and he is managing the whole show. Without moving his little finger also, Bhagwan manages the whole show. So our mind, when it is preoccupied with worldly things, worldly ambitions, worldly goals, then it is ordinary action. When we are preoccupied with our sense of duty and all, then it is karma yoga. But when our mind is occupied by contemplation on the Lord and want to know and want to understand our relationship with Bhagwan, then that is called Chintanam and that is Bhakti. So Kaya Vang Manaha Karyam Uttamam. Uttamam Karyam, the best Karya, action or duty. Karyam means that which has to be done. The best duty, the ultimate duty of all beings is with our body. You perform action as seva, as worship, with speech, glorify the Lord, and with chintana, with your mind, do the chintanam of the Lord, of that Supreme Self. Pujanam, japa, chintanam, kramat. So they are, kramat means serially they are superior. So what you call, japa is, puja is at the level of the body. Superior and subtler than puja is japa, and subtler than japa is chintanam. Also superior to the action which is performed just as a sense of duty. I mean ordinary worldly action. This is superior action. So pujanam japas chintanam kramat. Now Bhagwan will explain in detail and briefly what is the meaning of puja, what is the meaning of japa, and what is the meaning of chintanam. These are the 3 steps to attain the state of enlightenment, to attain the state of oneness with God. Just as we have 3 steps in Jnana Marga, in Vedanta, Vedanta says Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasan. So in Bhakti Marga also Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi gives here 3 steps: puja, japa and chintanam. 3 simple steps. Not so simple, but it's very interesting. So let us see what is the meaning of puja. How to do puja. Jagataisadhi yukta sevanam Ashtamurti Deva Pujanam Jagataisadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Deva Pujanam Ashtamurti Deva Pujanam. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Deva Pujanam. In this one verse itself, Bhagwan tells us what is puja, what is worship. What is the real worship? What is the worship at the highest level? He says, Jagata Sevanam, to serve the world, seva, to serve the world is called puja, Deva Pujanam. Jagata Sevanam, Deva Pujanam. But how should we serve the world? Ishadhi Yukta, considering the world as God, considering the world as the very expression of that divinity as God. Ishadhi Yukta. What God? I have never seen God like the world. He said, yes, God is in the form of this world only. But what about all the temples and all the little gods we have? They are also part of the big God. Who is big God? It's the Ashtamurti Bhrut, who has got 8-fold limbs as though. 8-fold. What are the 8 folds? The 5 great elements: Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi. Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal and Prithvi. Then the moon, the sun, and the jiva. These are mentioned in our scriptures. The entire cosmos is expressed as eightfold, as Ashtadha, wherein the five great elements are there. Basically, they can be called, the whole world can be called fivefold also. But also it is said there is the sun and the moon. The sun represents all the luminaries, all the stars, not only in our cosmos, in our galaxy, but in other galaxies also you can include. And moon represents all the satellites and all the planets. This is the physical world. And jiva represents all beings, right from the little ant to the devatas also. All beings are included in the word jiva. So jiva, the sun, the moon, which also represent, the sun and the moon also represent the other lokas. There are some lokas, higher lokas and the lower lokas, and all the beings of those lokas. So the entire cosmos is called Ishvara, is the body of Ishvara. Just as individually we have our own body, which is controlled by us. Ne? Can you raise your right hand, all of you? Very good. See, it is controlled by you. So just as our own body is controlled by us as a sense of I which we have, we control our body. Similarly, the same how I can raise my hand? Because I have identified with the hand. When I am asleep and somebody tells me to raise my hand, I cannot raise. I cannot hear also what that fellow is saying. But when I am awake and when I am identified with the hand, I can raise. Sometimes after sitting for a long time, you lose identification with the body, especially with your leg. So you don't know how to lift it also because it doesn't obey the command. But when we are identified, then we can move. Just as otherwise this body will not move. Just as this whole world which we see is also moving and doing its function because the consciousness is identified with this world also. So the consciousness identified with this body is called jiva, and the same consciousness identified with the entire world, cosmos, is called Ishvara. Consciousness is same. Just as I gave the example of the concentric circle, the dot, the point, the center is both Ishvara as well as Jiva. The Jiva is the center which is identified only with we talk about only the inner circle. Ishvara is the outer circle, which includes all other circles. So Ishvara, the word Ishvara means the master. Isha, ruler, master. Because consciousness, being in all, rules all, controls all. So it's called Ishvara. More about Ishvara and Jiva will come in later. One verse will come, that time we will again study it. So the whole world is the body or the expression of Ishvara, outer expression. So if I want to meet someone, if I want to talk to you, I talk to your body. But then not really I talk to your body, but I talk to your mind. I talk to you who are within that. But to seek you, I have to first seek your body only. I cannot go and talk to the wall unless I have a mobile in my hand. So if you are in front of me, I speak to you. But I am not really speaking to your body, I am speaking to you. When a person is asleep, you don't go and keep talking to your friend who is asleep. You wait for that friend to wake up, then you speak. So body is there, but who is the one who is building the body? Similarly, this world is body, but who is the one who is wielding this body? That same consciousness is called Ishvara. So in each and every one of us, in each and everything, that consciousness is there, pervading and controlling everything. So Ishadhi Yukta, so one should have the notion that whole world is Ishadhi. I should have the Dhi, Buddhi, notion, understanding that the whole world is Ishvara Yukta. Siya Ramamay Sabajagajani, as Tulsidas ji says. That's called Bhakti, to see the world as divine. To see divinity only in one object is not called Bhakti. To see divinity only in one temple is not called Bhakti. Only in one particular form is not called Bhakti. You are degrading God by saying that He is only there, not here. You are limiting God. भगवान को छोटा बनाते हैं हम. भगवान इतने छोटे नहीं हैं. God is all pervading and He cannot be limited by any object, any space, any time. So to look at the whole world as divine and serve the world as my service to that divinity is called puja. See, many people serve the world, but if they don't have this notion or the attitude of divinity, then it is not called puja. Then it is called social service. Then it is called NGO. Then it is called something else. That might lead to frustration also, because sometimes government cancels the ATG and all those things. But भगवान की सेवा में ATG भी नहीं लगती है. Nothing is cancelled. So when you do seva, for example, when I am doing puja of Bhagwan, I am not helping him, I am serving him. When we do puja of a little murti and when we do puja, it is a practice for me to serve God. It is a practice. It is a practice so that I can understand divinity everywhere. So start seeing divinity in one object, in one form, in one person, in one place, at one time. एकादशी में today's एकादशी को भगवान देखो, या at one particular place you see God, in some tirtha kshetra, or in one particular person you see God. That is practice. Once that is done, one should be able to transcend that practice and see God everywhere. Like बच्चे, if you want to teach them ABCD and all, in the beginning actually in the whole one page they write A only, इतना बड़ा एकदम, हाँ पूरा, फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता वो छोटा होता है और उसके बाद में उनको एप्पल चाहिए. Without apple they don't like A. But as they practice this, they become more and more expert in understanding A, then that apple is not required on the book. Apple they can eat. Similarly, we have to need this attitude. So for that we can practice. You take an idol of your choice, which represents that Lord. It can be any Krishna, Rama, Shiva or anyone, or your parents, or anyone. And उसमें practice करो divinity को देखने की. Then slowly extend that idol to something natural. The river, the mountain, the tree, the sun, the moon. And practice seeing divinity there. Then try to see divinity in the 5 elements, in Akash, in Vayu, in Agni, in Jal, in Prithvi. Then in human beings, in animals, in birds, in plants. And when we are able to see divinity in all, and respect that divinity in all, and serve that divinity, not help, not uplift, but serve. We are nobody to help God, but to serve Him. He might be expressing as a poor person, so serve him. He might be expressing as a unhealthy person, so serve him. He might be expressing as illiterate person, so serve him. So serve that divinity in the world, not only human beings but animals also. Sometimes we give more importance to human beings, less to animals. God is expressing as animals also. Even as inert objects, mountains, the rivers, to serve, to take care. For example, river, worshipping river means to take care of the river, to serve the river, not to put garbage in the river and block it, but to serve it. So Jagata Ishadhi Yukta, to have the notion that Jagat is Ishwar Yukta, even to look at a person, we can look with the attitude of puja, of seva. When we look at a person as divine, our look itself is like it does the work of seva. Some people have deadly look. That doesn't become seva then. पता नहीं कहाँ से मच्छर आ गया or something dirty and all. But when we look at everything as divine, then our eyes are doing seva only. Our attitude is getting expressed through our eyes. So this is very interesting and important, and this is what the meaning of puja is. Many people get involved in the various types of rituals and they have lost sight of the real puja. Therefore, many people, they do a lot of wonderful puja of God, but when it comes to God, seeing God in the world or interacting with God in this world, their puja fails there. नहीं? Puja करते हैं first class and they cheat also people, they disturb and they hurt others, then that is not called puja. So Jagata Ishadhi Yukta. So it's very interesting. So most of the time the puja is actually, though physically we are doing the seva, but our mind is tuned to that Ishvara and we are seeing with our eyes Ishvara only. Once it happened in Maharashtra, there was this great freedom fighter also and a great philosopher and bhakta, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And he used to, once he came to someone's house, his friend's house, and in that house that little girl was there and her mother was telling that girl that you should do puja regularly. You are not doing puja. देर से उठती है और कुछ नहीं करती है तो सवेरे उठो और भगवान की पूजा करो. You worship, that go to the temple in the house itself and do puja. So the girl told the mother that I have heard that Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, he doesn't do puja. He doesn't have any mandir and all. She told her mother. See, during that time also children were quite, dynamic like. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak was there and he heard her saying it. So he called her and said, who told you I don't do puja? He said, I have heard that you don't have this any temple or you don't go to temples or don't do namaskar to any devata and all. He said, that is not right. I do puja. He said, then show me where is your God. He said, come out. So he took her out and there were people outside. He said, these are my gods. This is my temple and all these people who you see, they are my gods. I do their seva and that is my puja. So that itself is called the highest type of puja. To get that attitude, we can practice doing our other puja by invoking the presence of God in any object, ordinary object. One can do it with a simple object. Take any object and look at it as if it is divine. It is divine, but look at it with the eyes that it is divine, then that is called puja. And when we do that upchar, slowly that vision comes. When we invoke God in the murti or in photograph or something and do that asan and avahan and all those things we do, dhyan, avahan, asan, padhyam, argyam and all, then arti and all, finally we do namaskar, we invoke that divinity in that and look at it as though it is divine. So at least for a short time in that object we have seen divinity. and it feels so nice. If we can extend this object to the whole world and extend the time and space, then our entire life will become puja. And when our life becomes puja, our mind becomes pure. It will become pure. You don't have to then go to a special place to do puja and all. Every place is divine, every object is divine. So this is a very important lesson. तो जगत ईशधि युक्त सेवनम Ashtamurti Bhrud Deva Pujanam. So Devata, the Ishvara is mentioned in our scriptures as Ashtamurti Bhrud. Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi. We are living and we are walking in God. It's like we sit in front of that murti and we feel that murti is different, I am different. We do namaskar. But here, Bhagwan is not only in our body, he is everywhere. We are walking, talking, we are existing in that divinity. To develop that attitude in our heart and do the seva of each and every being is called puja. And when our work becomes worship, then karma yoga becomes bhakti. So Ashtamurti Bhrut Deva Pujanam. So this is the first step in Bhakti Marga, that you do puja. Puja karo. If that is done, then the second step is japa. That is now mentioned in the next verse. Uttamastavāduccamandatah Chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam Uttamastavāduccamandatah Chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam. Chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam. So uttamastavad ucchamandatah chittajam japa dhyanam uttamam. Says that stavan means praise or stuti. Stuti of the Lord is uttam. With our speech, to glorify that Ishvara is the best. So first comes stuti, and then that stuti itself becomes subtler as japa, uchcha japa, manda japa, and chittajam japa. So uchcha means loud japa, manda means soft in our mind, in the speech, and then chittajam japa, japa at the level of our mind. Japa dhyanam uttamam, this is the best japa. So first is stavanam. Stavanam means praise of God. We have to, with our speech, praise the Lord. See, we ourselves cannot praise, then we have to chant and sing the glories which are sung by other great realized masters. Like Tulsidas ji has sung the glory of the Lord as Rama, Shri Ramachandra Kripala Bhajamana Harana Bhava Bhaya Darunam. Our Shankaracharya ji has glorified Bhagwan in various ways. Our great Rishi Munis, they have personified God for us to, it becomes more easy for us to identify. For example, our own country, if we personify the country, make the country as our mother or father, some other countries they make them fatherland, motherland. mother, so it becomes easier for us to express our emotion when it is personified. God is not a person. God is that pure consciousness, pure existence, bliss. It's not a particular form, not like a human form or some other form. But it becomes easier for us when we personify God, for us to express our emotions and to comprehend. So our great Rishimunis have personified God in various ways, as Brahma, as Vishnu, as Mahesh. So, Stavanam is to glorify the Lord, to read the glories of Bhagwan and express it. And what are the glories of God? So many, the whole world is Bhagwan's glory. Eta vanasya mahima ato jaya ganscha purushaha. In Purusha Suktam it is said this whole world is Bhagwan's glory, but he is much more than what you can see, what you comprehend. So when we glorify the Lord, what happens? Our ego gets diminished, our mind becomes more humble. All these negativities of the mind, our desires, our pride, our hypocrisy, our jealousies, our greed, our anger, our hatred, all these things disappear when we glorify the Lord. When we are too much occupied with ourselves, then all these things come. When the little I becomes important, then anger, jealousy, greed, this, that, all sorts of negativities becomes more important. They become more prominent. But when we glorify the Lord, our mind becomes humble. Our whole personality becomes soft. We become simple. Even Lord, in the scriptures they have depicted that even Bhagwan Shiva, he took the form of Hanumanji to serve Sri Ram. He simplified himself, became a sevak. So what is the glory of God? That without doing anything, without even changing, transforming, he is appearing like this world. The world is Bhagwan's glory. Each and every one of us is Bhagwan's glory. Bhagwan's glory is mentioned in the Puranas, in Bhagavad, in Ramayana, in Bhagavad Gita, in the Upanishad, in the Vedas, everywhere Bhagwan himself is glorified. Each and everything which we see in this world is glory of the Lord. The birds flying in the air, the sky, the moon, the sun, you put the seed in the soil and the beautiful plant comes and the flower it's all Bhagwan's glory. It's miracle happening every moment. People want to see miracle, but they don't have eyes to see. Miracle is happening every moment. Just by giving scientific explanation doesn't make that miracle non-miracle. We feel scientific explanation dete hai to ho gaya, it is not a miracle. But it is no seed, this and then this and then what is, I don't know the scientific explanation also. But anyway, so just by giving scientific explanation doesn't make that thing non-miracle. It's a miracle only. A tiny little seed. You can't even see what is there inside. That seed, when you put it in the soil, it collects material from the soil, builds a beautiful tree, beautiful flowers, or beautiful, what you call, tasty fruits. Who has built it? That seed. Where is that seed? It has destroyed itself. It has not destroyed, it has converted itself into that tree. Who gave that all this information? How it can convert this mitti into protein or whatever the material? It had that intelligence. It's a great miracle. The birds flying in the air, we eating and digesting, we ourselves have done the miracle. In our mother's womb, we were like a tiny little bubble like. And within 9 months, we created all the parts, the body parts. a full-fledged human being. So miracle is happening, it is all glory of the Lord, and when we with our mouth we glorify God and stop glorifying ourselves, stop glorifying our little ego. You cannot actually, even what we think I have done, really I have not done. Please show one thing which you can say that you have done completely. Nothing can be shown. Even breathing we don't do ourselves. Even when we are asleep, breathing happens. Even when we are asleep. So this is the whole world is glory of that supreme reality. So when we glorify Him with our tongue becomes pure. Our speech becomes pure. And when the speech becomes pure, when Vani becomes pure, it paves the way for real knowledge to happen. When Saraswati we start offering white, clean dress to Saraswati, she will bless us with knowledge. Saraswati doesn't wear all sorts of fancy dress, white. She sits on a hamsa. So Saraswati is the Vani, and Vani should be made pure. Then in that pure Vani, we will see the Vedas getting expressed. So Uttama Stava. So Stavanam, praising God, is Uttam. But even subtler than praising God is then Japa. The entire praise of the Lord, when we have to put it in one word, we can just take His name, which represents everything. See, when we have to remember a person, we remember that person's name. Even on your mobile and all, you have put all sorts of names. Sometimes to remember that you yourself give some other name. Actually, if you check people's mobile, you will be horrified seeing the name under which your phone number is there. Motu, Champakaram. And your name, your number is there. Because by your name, it is difficult to remember you. Motu कहने से वो पता चल जाता है. Similarly, whatever be your name you have given to God, with that name you remember Him. You can call Him Motu also, it doesn't matter. In fact, the scriptures called Him Motu. Brahma. Brahma means Mota. Bada. Brahma. Shiva. Rama. Krishna. Whatever name we can. Om. Om is the most beautiful name. Om. Bas. Aur kuch nahi. Om. So when we say Om, we remember God, because with the name comes His nature also. You cannot remember the name without bring the whole nature and everything coming to your mind. So before we can do japa, we should first know the glory of the Lord. Then the whole glory of the Lord is put into one word, His name. And that name we have to then chant. So chanting Bhagwan's name is called japa. So it can be any name, Ram, 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 any name. And there are millions of names are there of Bhagwan. Whichever you like, which reminds you of God, that name you can take. It can be just Ma also, Mother, or Om, or Shiva, Rama, Krishna, or any other religion, whatever the other names are there given of God, that is also fine. So just taking Bhagwan's name itself is a great mantra. Ram Nam is also Bhagwan's name and a great mantra. So when we say Ram, the entire nature, Ishvara's nature, everything should come to our mind. Then that words mean the feeling will come. When we say Ram, the feeling of divinity will come in our heart. When we take Bhagwan's name regularly, then that outer words and all will disappear and that feeling will come. Just as when you take your loved one's name, the name may go away, but that feeling remains behind. So, after taking Bhagwan's name loudly, we should practice taking Bhagwan's name within softly in our own mouth. So it is called Manda Japa. So one is called Uccha Japa, loudly to take Bhagwan's name, loudly enough so that we can also hear. So we should take name and listen to that name. That is called Uccha Japa. Ram, Ram, Ram. Not that you take name and listen to music. Listen to that name as you chant. Ram, Ram, Ram. So you listen to it. That's called Uccha Japa. Then you take that name and listen with your inner ears only. Ram. Means only you can hear, others cannot hear. It's called Manda Japa. It becomes subtler. It becomes at a subtler level. Automatically your body becomes more and more calm and peaceful. Your mind also becomes peaceful. So subtler level. And then comes at the subtlest level, at the level of our mind. So when we take Bhagwan's name, we develop a feeling. Ram या कोई भी नाम आप लेते हो, तो it creates a feeling in your mind. To repeat that feeling is called mental japa. To repeat that feeling, to maintain that feeling with the help of the chanting, to maintain that feeling and to pay attention to that feeling which you have in your heart. That is that the japa becomes still subtler. It's called a mental japa. Japa means to repeat. Japa means to continuously abhyas, repeat. So when we repeat Bhagwan's name or mantra at the level of our speech, loudly, it is called Uccha Japa. When we repeat it within our mouth, that we alone can hear, nobody else can hear, that is called Manda Japa. But when it goes at the level of our mind, at the level of our emotions, at the level of our feelings, then it's called Chittajam Japa. See, in the beginning, we may take Bhagwan's name, but our mind may wander. As Kabir Das ji says, what does he say? That Mala to karme fire, jivva fire mukhamai, manuva to chahudisi fire, ye to sumirana nahi. Mala Dandandatan, some people are expert actually. Their malas turn faster than you can see. Very fast. Tuck, 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 tuck. Sometimes they even speak to someone and their mala is moving here. It will become mechanical like. अच्छा क्या हो गया उसका? अच्छा कहीं चली गई? मुझे पता था जाने वाली एक दिन राम 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 राम. So that is not Sumeran. So first we have to sing the chant Bhagwan's name with our loudly. Mind may wander. Then softly mind becomes little more quieter. And while chanting it loudly and softly, we should pay attention to the feeling which it generates. That is very important. And then maintain that feeling. That maintaining that feeling is called the Chittajam Japa. You can take help of the chanting, let the chanting go on, but pay attention to the feeling. Then even when the chanting is stopped, the feeling continues. The feeling of divinity. See, to take Bhagwan's name is a great blessing. It's a great privilege given to human being. भगवान has given us privilege कि आप मेरा नाम ले सकते हो. Only a bad person doesn't take that name. Ravan never used to utter Bhagwan's name. Kabir Das ji says that those who cannot utter Bhagwan's name, then it is better to put dhul in their mouth. Their mouth is filled with dhul only. So Ram, if we can chant Bhagwan's name, take his name, then consider yourself blessed. So when we chant, that feeling comes, and that is called Chittajam Japa. And then let the name disappear, let the name, outer name go away, but hold on to that feeling of divinity. That is called Chittajam Japa. And once we keep on holding on to it, then that itself becomes Dhyana. Chittajam Japa Dhyanam Uttamam. That itself becomes Dhyana. Like Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, he was a great devotee, a great realized master. And he used to tell his disciples and all sometime to sing. And Swami Vivekananda ji used to love him. And he used to sing Bhagwan's bhajan. And Ramakrishna used to go into samadhi only, just listening to that glory. He used to go into samadhi. Just listening to that glory of the Lord is to make each and every part, each and every pore is to melt as though in devotion for the Lord. So when we have to take help of the words to remember God, then it is outer japa only, whether it is Uchcha japa or Manda japa. When even the words are dropped, when only the remembrance remains, when the feeling remains, that is called the Chittajam japa. And this Chittajam japa leads into that bhava samadhi, which is called dhyana. Person goes into that bhava. This happens when we remember even ordinary people, mother remembering the child or somebody remembering, one goes into that mood. But it's the ordinary remembering a human being. Once one mullah was doing the namaz, and one girl was running from there to meet her beloved, and she was not aware that mullah is sitting there. He was spreading his mat there, and she ran above the mat. So she got real furious and all. He was waiting for her to return. Then she returned, she caught hold of him. What are you doing? You didn't see me worshipping and all? He said, What worshipping? You were sitting, yes, and what were you doing? I was remembering the Lord. And you saw me running also. She said, I was just thinking of this worldly boy, and I was totally immersed in his thoughts that I did not see anything. I did not see mullah, I did not see the carpet, I did not see anything. I was totally immersed in that. So when our heart, our mind gets immersed in the thoughts and the feelings, not thoughts, in the feeling, in the bhava it is called, in the feeling of the Lord, then we have reached the level of Chittajam Japa. But to reach that, we have to start with Uchcha Japa, Manda Japa. And before that Uchcha Japa also, the Stavanam. So Uttama Uchchamandatah Chittajam Japa Dhyanam Uttamam. And the japa itself will lead a person into dhyana, into bhava samadhi. In that samadhi or total trance of bhava, of feeling. The feeling of the Lord will be there. A person will get overwhelmed with the love for God and will remain in that bhava only. And the more we remain in this bhava, the more our mind will become pure. It will get purified. All the dirt of so many lifetimes will get purified when we remember Lord even for a few moments. So this is the beautiful words. Thereafter Bhagwan will explain to us what is what is Chintanam, which is the third step in Bhakti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnameva Vashishyate Shanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om